Hiya, my name is Jay and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be starting a new park in Planet Zoo. I know I haven't really finished the previous one, the one I've been working on, which is Biome Reptile Sanctuary, but with the release of the Arctic pack, I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to build a couple standalone habitats like the polar bear. I was just going to build a habitat for it, kinda, just on its own without any additional sort of habitats around it, just a standalone thing. But then I started building, and I kept building, and I kept building. So now this build's kind of got a little bit out of hand, and I decided, you know what, why not make a small park, a side project, so to speak, alongside Biome Reptile Sanctuary, which I will return to next week. Anyways, for the polar bear, it's one of the animals I was most looking forward to in this new pack, with the other one being the doll sheep. Those two are the ones I was really excited for. I do have to say, in the game, they're pretty cool. I really like the polar bears. As far as behaviours go, there's nothing particularly new that I've seen so far. Compared to the other bears, they're quite similar. But in terms of aesthetics, how they look really cool. Currently, this is the largest land carnivore I believe we have in the game. I don't think we can get any bigger, considering this is the biggest terrestrial carnivore in real life. So it's not like we're gonna get anything quite bigger unless they decide to add dinosaurs, but fingers crossed, you never know. Never know. But yeah, so this habitat took me a long time to build, and the video took me a long time to edit, and I guarantee you, when this thing starts rendering, it's gonna take a long time to render. It is so much fun building these habitats in Planet Zoo, and I love editing actually. I know a lot of people on YouTube really don't like editing, but I quite like it. I feel like it's kind of honing my skill in film production and stuff like that, which could be useful down the line. The only pain is that I'm working on it's a pretty good laptop, but it is a laptop. It's not got the processing power of like a full PC. And it's definitely not ideal for handling rendering, large-scale video in this sense. It's just not quite ideal, so to speak. So my rendering times are ridiculously long, so I usually run them overnight, and my laptop gets boiling hot, which is really probably not very good for it. But gotta do what you gotta do. Anyways, let's talk about the build. So I kind of set myself a challenge. The polar bear requires a massive habitat requirement. I believe they are changing it in the new patch to about half the original size. But it requires about, I believe for the two of them, it required something like 14,000 square meters, if I'm not mistaken. Which is quite a big space, so I try to give them quite a big space. I like that they did that because it does reflect the real world, because polar bears are not particularly suited for captivity. They don't do well in captivity because in the wild, they range such huge distances. We're talking kilometers and kilometers. Putting them in a confined space simply does not work for them. So in terms of this particular build, I wanted to give them as big a space as I possibly could. Now, by the end of it, it doesn't actually fully meet their requirements, despite the fact that it's huge. And that's because I added in probably a bit too much water. A good 2/3 of this habitat is water-based. And although I think the polar bears in real life probably wouldn't mind something like that, in the game they do need a bit more land area. And yeah, I can totally see that. So that's a kind of fault on my part. Should have made the land area a little bit bigger. But overall, I think it turned out pretty cool. Again, I set myself another challenge to use mainly items from this Arctic pack, which wasn't really a challenge because the items are really good and really versatile. The new wood set especially, which is very Nordic, very Scandinavian. Kind of looks like something out of How to Train Your Dragon or Skyrim or something like that. Just looks really excellent, very easy to use. Definitely blends really well with the other themes. If you can see later on, I use a bit of glass here and there and they blend really well. So I'm quite happy with all the items that we've got. Another thing that we got with this pack were these ice rocks. And you'll see me later on try to create these ice flows across the surface of the water, so little chunks of ice that are just floating there. I think the effect turns out really nice actually. I'm really quite happy with it. The only thing I'm not too happy about is that they're quite blue for my taste. I would like it if they're a bit more white or a bit more transparent. although they do have this really cool effect where it looks like they're kind of translucent. I believe they're using some sort of fancy 3D shader or something like that, which I'm not particularly familiar with, but they've done a really good job on the ice. I think it's really cool. If only it was a bit less blue, I'd be 100% happy with it. Other than that, you may notice I'm not building on the tundra biome and I'm building on the taiga biome. And that is because when I tried to build on the tundra biome, I realized very quickly that it was going to be very difficult for me to see anything because everything was covered in snow. So my paths, my fences, my rocks, everything was just pure white and kind of overexposed almost. So when you looked at the screen, it was just pure white and there was like barely any resolution, but you just couldn't make out what was going on. So I decided, you know what, instead of having to put on heaters and melt all the snow or different weathers to melt the snow, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go to a different biome which is quite similar and build there, where it's still pretty realistic, and and this way, because it's not on the tundra biome, I can also use more foliage and still have it be quite realistic while maintaining that cold temperature vibe. So that's kind of what I did, and I do hope it worked out. I think it did. Overall, I think it looks good. I really like the taiga biome. The only thing I don't like is that the grass seems a bit fluorescent, a bit too green. But overall, still a really great biome. Not my favorite in the game. I believe my favorite is probably tropical. Tropical looks really good. And after Biome Reptile Sanctuary is done, and after this park is done, we're going to be working on a big zoo in the tropical biome. So that'll be a lot of fun. So in terms of the build itself, the polar bear habitat is quite a large space with an underwater viewing area, so you kind of come into the park and you turn right and you enter this building, and within the building you have some shops, some information, but you also have this massive glass pane for viewing the polar bears when they swim. Now unfortunately I didn't capture any footage of that because for some reason my polar bears just refused to swim today, guessing they were not feeling it. And there's also the possibility that me placing in all those ice rocks above the water surface might have made it a bit too difficult for them to navigate via the hitboxes, so could have been a fault on my part there. But I still think the building itself looks really cool. I love using these new roof pieces, the very Nordic looking curved roofs at the top. They look brilliant. I've added a bit of glass to make it look more modern as well, and kind of decorated a lot of the area with rocks. Oh god, and speaking of rocks, this is the most rocks I've used in any build so far. There are... God, I don't even want to think about how many rocks there actually are in this build, but it is a tremendous amount. Like, I'm not talking like, oh yeah, I've dotted a few rocks here and there. I'm talking about so much of this habitat is built out of rock work. Almost every barrier in the habitat itself is purely rock work. I've highlighted the shelter with rock work. The ice in the water is made out of rocks. There are rocks all over the surface of everything. There's rocks holding up the bridge. It's insane. There's even rocks within the viewing area as a part of a display. It is absolutely insane how many rocks I actually use. But to their credit, the rocks in this game are pretty amazing. They fit every sort of situation you want to use them in. So yeah. I can see why I'd end up using that many rocks. So it's not so much a complaint, more of a weird statistic, if that makes any sense at all. I think I'm going on a bit of a tangent. Anyways, that is kind of most of what I needed to talk about, really. There isn't an awful lot to talk about with the episode. I say that every episode, don't I? I feel like I say in every episode of something I say that I'm always like, oh yeah, I don't actually have that much to talk about. Usually there is, and I just kind of forget as I go along. I should probably start scripting these a bit more. I tried scripting an episode when I did the top 10 animals in Planet 2, and that worked out really well. But for these individual builds, I feel like I don't really know how to script them in the start, so I might try and work something out and learn how to script these before I start, because who knows, it might make my voiceovers a little bit better. And I'm still working a lot with these. I'm still quite new to the whole voiceover thing. I'm getting more comfortable with it, but I'm still having a few issues here and there. For example, my audio's not perfect just yet. My room has a lot of reverb, I think. And I've tried a few different things. I covered myself and my mic with a blanket the other day, so in a couple of my videos I may sound a little bit different. I think when I announced the Arctic pack, that was the one I did when I was under a blanket, so I might have sounded quite different. But I'm still working it out, trying to figure out the best way to do this, the best settings, the best way to edit my audio. So hopefully in due time I'll improve and get better and hopefully produce a little bit of a better listening experience for whoever's listening. And I'm going to try to be a bit more concise, a bit more clear with what I'm saying, and a bit longer. So I know it's all a bit of a learning experience, but hopefully you bear with me. And for everyone who's subscribed so far, thank you so much. I've got 25 of you who've subscribed, I think. Obviously not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but I'm very, very appreciative for that you guys want to watch my content. Very much appreciative to anyone who watched my content and liked it or didn't like it, as long as you give it a watch. Yeah, sure, thanks guys. You know, I'm just generally quite happy with getting any sort of feedback. So if you do have anything you want to let me know, whether you've liked my builds, whether you've not liked my builds, whether you've liked my voiceover, whether you've not liked my voiceover, feel free to let me know. I'm always happy to receive any sort of critique. And I just want to learn from it, you know. This whole thing, like I said, it's a learning process, and I want to go along and get better at all this as we go. Now that we've gone on that massive tangent, let's talk about, well, what are my plans going forward? So next week, I'm going to upload this video that I filmed recently at Singapore Zoo, which I went to over the weekend. Brilliant experience. I loved it so much. Easily my favorite zoo in the world. I've been to a lot of zoos. Every country I go to, I try and visit their zoo or wildlife park. Been to a few nature reserves, some wildlife sanctuaries. But honestly, Singapore Zoo just really knocks it out of the park. They do such a good job when it comes to animal welfare, when it comes to habitat design. There's only, when I was there, I probably identified only a couple issues that I could really tell. For example, in terms of how good it is, they have this cageless policy, where if you go there, you don't see much in the way of fencing, really. The way they kind of separate the animals from the people, they use moats, kind of. Sometimes they have entire islands for the animals. A lot of their primates are free-ranging, which is really impressive. They, for example, they have Javan macaques that kind of just go wherever they want, but they come back to their habitat for food. Really impressive, because they've built this relationship with these animals where there's kind of this bond where the keepers and the macaques trust each other for when they need to be given food, when they need to be given health checkups, but otherwise the macaques are free to go wherever they want, free to enjoy life. And this isn't like, oh, they can go wherever they want within like 10 feet, you know, they can go wherever they want within a massive forested region. Because Singapore, like where I'm from, Malaysia, we are very tropical countries with a lot of forest area. And even though Singapore is pretty tiny and pretty densely populated, there's still quite a significant amount of forest left for that amount of space. You think otherwise because of how densely populated it is, but really quite impressive. And that free ranging thing even extends to the orangutans which they have there. So that's really impressive, because orangutans are almost completely arboreal creatures, and giving them free reign of basically every tree in the park is pretty cool. And yeah, that video is going to come out. It's going to be very different from my other videos. It's hopefully going to be a lot more tightly edited, a lot more documentary form almost. So that should be quite fun. And if anyone wants inspiration for habitat designs, that will be, you know, a great way to kind of look at what some really good leading zoos are doing and hopefully incorporate that into your own parks if that's what you're looking for. But the experience as a whole, absolutely amazing. I went to all 4 wildlife parks in Singapore, so that's the Singapore Zoo, the River Safari, the Night Safari, and the Bird Park, and they were all excellent. Really good. The educational aspects were brilliant. I even went and check out some of the animal shows, and they're not done as traditional animal shows. You know, you don't see like a dolphin spinning a ball on its nose. What you go to see is you get to see like small animals. Like they had a raccoon and they showed you what the raccoon's natural behavior was. They had, you know, like smaller animals like ferrets or otters, and instead of having them do tricks like in a circus, they just displayed some of the natural behaviors by having animal enrichment on stage, like, you know, kind of like foraging equipment. foraging equipment, I mean like foraging pits and things like that. And you were watching, and even the stage itself is set up in such a way that there's such a decent separation where the animals are able to run away and hide if they need to, and they're just in a zero stress environment. I thought that was brilliant. There's such a huge focus on conservation and education, which I was so happy about. That is kind of how I think zoos should be. And they were never shy about the realities of zoo living for animals. They were never kind of preaching like, oh yeah, zoos are always great. No, they knew exactly what was going on with their zoo. They knew that, okay, not all animals are suited for this, but sometimes they're in bad situations and we need to help them, and this is the only way we can. It was just really quite impressive, and I'm really happy with it. And yeah, you're going to hear a lot more about it in that video, so look forward to that. Aside from that, I've been playing some Jurassic World Evolution on the channel. You may have noticed I've put up a couple videos. Strangely, those seem to be getting way better reception than I expected. I don't know why, because they were quite simple builds that, don't take an awful lot of effort. But I suppose maybe there's, there are probably more Jurassic Park fans out there that are interested in that sort of content as opposed to Planet Zoo fans. Because, with Jurassic Park you have an entire franchise with movies, games, books. Whereas with Planet Zoo you just have the one game. So I assume we have a bigger demographic there. I'll still be putting up Jurassic World Evolution content. I'll be making another park as well, but that isn't really my long-term goal for this channel. I think I'll stick to primarily Planet Zoo stuff, maybe occasionally a few other Sandbox games. I do think I want to get into City Skylines again. I was obsessed with it last year for about 2-3 months. Was just super into it, modded the crap out of my game. I was really into it, and in fact I used to post City Skylines videos on this channel. I posted about 4 and then I kind of gave up on it because my exams started rolling around and I was graduating university. So yeah, that all kind of got in the way, and I decided I'll just wait till after and restart the channel. But when I did get to that point, I wasn't really into City Skylines anymore, and Planet Zoo had just come out, so Planet Zoo is basically taken over my life, so that's it. So there will be regular videos up till the end of December, I believe. Once January does roll around, we might see a slight decrease because I will be starting a full-time job. Got an internship at a wildlife documentary production company, so that's going to be cool, I hope. Should be a lot of fun. And hopefully if I do anything cool, I'll record it and post it on the channel or something like that. But yeah, I've talked enough, I think. I know this video is really long, so I've tried to keep you guys entertained a little bit. But yeah, the cinematics go on for a while because I really put so much effort into this build, and I love how it turned out. I'm so happy with it, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. My favourite parts probably include the elevated pathway with the little umbrellas, and the building itself I think looks quite cool. It's not like a perfect square, it's like a weird kind of rhombus? I don't know. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Like the video if you've enjoyed this content, subscribe if you want to see more, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!